recent conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel has sent shockwaves through the financial and economic systems of the United Arab Emirates and the wider Gulf region. For decades, these nations have worked to build reputations as stable, safe places to do business. The recent escalation, however, has tested that image in ways not seen in years. From the suspension of stock markets to direct hits on major airports and ports, the impact has been immediate and severe. To understand the scale of the financial response, picture the stock market suddenly going dark. When the strikes landed across the Gulf, authorities in the UAE made a critical decision. They shut down the Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange and the Dubai financial market for 2 full days. This was not a public holiday. It was an explicit move to prevent panic selling from spiraling out of control. In a rare parallel move, Kuwait also suspended trading due to what it described as exceptional circumstances. This leads one to wonder, what happens when the markets finally open after such a dramatic pause? When the UAE markets did reopen, the anxiety that had been building was palpable. Imagine watching the numbers on a screen tumble down. Dubai's main stock index fell by nearly 5%. It was the steepest fall since May 2022. Abu Dhabi's index slid by more than 3%. To soften the blow, the exchanges had to temporarily lower the daily price limit. This meant stocks could only fall by a maximum of 5% in a single day. The selling pressure was widespread, but it hit some companies harder than others. State-owned lender Emirates NBD saw its shares drop by more than 5%. Budget airline Air Arabia fell by a similar amount. In Abu Dhabi, some insurance companies saw declines of nearly 10%. These sharp drops show just how vulnerable certain sectors are to a sudden loss of confidence. This raises another question. Why were banks and airlines hit so much harder than other companies? The answer lies in how connected they are to the health of the local economy. Banks make money when businesses are growing and people are spending. Airlines need passengers who are confident enough to book flights. When conflict breaks out, both business activity and tourism tend to freeze. People stay home. Companies delay investments. That is exactly what started to happen across the Gulf. Beyond the immediate numbers on a trading screen, the conflict forced major financial institutions to rethink their outlook for the entire region. JP Morgan, one of the world's largest investment banks, moved quickly to lower its economic growth forecasts. The bank slashed its prediction for non-oil growth in the Gulf region by an average of 0.3 percentage points for the year. For the UAE specifically, the forecast was cut by 0.4 points. The reasoning behind this is simple. Business disruptions and a drop in confidence among consumers and companies are expected to slow economic activity. When people are worried about safety, they are less likely to travel. They are less likely to spend money. The physical damage to key infrastructure made those economic worries very real. For the first time in its modern history, Dubai found itself directly in the line of fire. Think about Dubai International Airport for a moment. It is one of the busiest travel hubs in the world, connecting millions of passengers to every corner of the globe. It was hit and temporarily shut down. Thousands of flight cancellations followed. Just as critically, operations at the Jebel Ali port were suspended after being struck. Jebel Ali is among the world's largest and busiest container ports. This raises an important question. What does it mean for the global economy when a port that handles massive amounts of trade suddenly goes offline? The disruption to these hubs strikes at the very heart of the UAE's economic model. The country has spent decades transforming itself. It went from a small fishing community to a center for logistics, luxury tourism, and global trade. When the airport closes and the port stops moving goods, the entire system seizes up. The timing could hardly have been worse. The attacks occurred during the holy month of Ramadan. This is usually a period filled with corporate networking events and gatherings. These events are essential for building business relationships in the region. Emails obtained by news agencies showed that events hosted by major companies like Emirates Airlines, Abu Dhabi energy firm Masdar, and the Mubadala investment fund were all cancelled or postponed. This loss of the Ramadan networking season adds a hidden but significant cost to the disruption. While the UAE grapples with the impact on its airports and ports, a much larger threat looms over the entire Gulf. That threat is the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Imagine a narrow waterway shaped like a funnel. Through this funnel passes about 20% of the world's oil every single day. Iran's decision to block the strait effectively cut off this maritime route. For countries like Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain, which depend almost entirely on this passage to sell their energy, the blockade is an existential threat to their export revenues. This prompts the listener to consider what alternatives these energy-rich nations have if their main shipping channel remains closed. The alternatives, it turns out, are extremely limited. Saudi Arabia has a pipeline that can move oil across the country to the Red Sea. It can handle around 5 to 7 million barrels per day. The UAE has a pipeline to a port on the Gulf of Oman. It can move about 1.5 to 1.8 million barrels per day. However, experts warn that these pipelines are not enough. Even running at full capacity, they can only bypass about a third of the 20 million barrels that normally go through the strait. For natural gas, the situation is even more dire. One energy expert put it simply, for gas there is no alternative route available right now. Qatar, one of the world's largest LNG exporters, finds its supplies essentially trapped. This blockade has triggered a cascade of rising costs. War risk insurance premiums for tankers have jumped by about 50%. That adds hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of a single voyage. Shipping companies now face a difficult choice. They can pay those higher costs, or they can take the long way around. Rerouting vessels around the southern tip of Africa adds 10 to 14 extra days to deliveries. With major shipping carriers withdrawing from the region entirely, the global movement of goods is facing a new wave of disruption and uncertainty. Despite the widespread damage to markets and trade, there is one notable exception to the negative trend. That exception is the energy sector itself. Shares of oil giant Saudi Aramco jumped more than 2%. This reflects a simple market reality. While a logistics company suffers when fuel is expensive and routes are blocked, an oil company benefits when the price of its core product goes up. This creates a mixed picture across the Gulf economies. Elevated oil prices provide a cushion for producers like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Their revenues get stronger. But the trade, logistics, and tourism sectors, particularly in the UAE, are facing severe pressure. Looking ahead, the conflict casts a long shadow over the Gulf's long-term ambitions. For years, countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia have been working hard to diversify their economies. They have been trying to attract foreign direct investment. This is the kind of long-term money that builds factories, technology hubs, and new cities. But here is the critical question. Will international investors still want to pour money into the region if it is seen as unstable or unsafe? The recent travel advisories issued by the United States, the United Kingdom, and the European Union only add to the concern. These advisories urged citizens to exercise extreme caution in the region. That kind of warning can linger in the minds of business executives and investors for a long time. The conflict has shown that even the most modern and connected cities in the Gulf are not immune to the risks of regional war. This reality will affect their finances and their stocks for some time to come. The full impact may not be known for months or even years, but one thing is certain. The landscape of Gulf finance has changed, and it will never be quite the same.